All right, so one of the issues that I was having with the Untold Engine was that it was taking a very, very long time to load 3D models. So I needed to fix that because I couldn't even, stand the fact that it was taking that long. So let me share with you some like the problem that I was having. So, for example, to load one 3D model with about 2000 polys, it was taking the Untold Engine 0.65 seconds to load. And that is a lot of time, especially when you're playing a game and a character needs to spawn all of a sudden. That will create kind of a hiccup in the game, and the player will notice that. And during the initialization of the game, when I was loading the whole scene for the game, which is about 100,000 polys, it was taking, guess what, 17.02 seconds to load. And you can agree with me, that is not good at all. So I needed to fix that. And the issue was that the XML the file that I was reading, the whole format of the XML is not suitable for game engines, right? Because it takes a long time to parse the data in XML. And here I have a small diagram that shows basically how the Untold Engine was working. So I would basically export the 3D model data such as vertices, normals, UV coordinates, and I would export that data into an XML file, right? Once I had the XML file, the engine would parse all of that data, and that parsing, that loading was taking a very long time. So a solution to all this is basically that instead of using XML, you can use binary data instead. That actually is a lot faster to load. So how does a binary file looks like if you've never seen one? Well, it looks like this. And actually this is the representation of the XML file containing the 3D data. So everything that you see here, just imagine that I'm stripping out all of the tag names and just having the data. And in binary data format, it will look like this. And how did I go about doing that? Well, I basically wrote an XML to binary data converter. All right, so I didn't modify anything big in the engine. Or what I did was created an additional application that will basically parse the XML data and convert that to binary, and I do that offline. I do not do that in the game engine, right? So basically, again, we have Blender 3D, which will export the 3D model in XML format. That XML file is then fed into the command line application, and the application will basically spit out the binary format of that. So now, when you are moving from XML to binary format, you need to come up with your own custom binary file format, basically explaining the sequence of data that that file is going to have. And luckily, I already kind of had that format, but in XML format. Why? Well, because when I started developing the engine, I started using Collada to export the data for the 3D models. However, I ran into issues parsing the Collada format. I found it too cumbersome. So what I decided to do was basically to come up with my own custom XML file format, right? And that would basically list out the type of data that I wanted in sequential order. So for example, if you look at the image here, the first thing that I usually ask or that I store are the vertices, normals, UVs, index data, pre-hold vertex data, materials, diffuse color, etc. Right? So since I already had all of this data, this format, I decided to basically use the same format for my binary file format. And that's exactly what I did. So that made it a lot easier. So now when I either, like writing to the binary file, I follow the format. And when I'm reading it, I following the same format. I know where all the data is at because of this format. And that is something that you may want to create, that you will have to come up with. So just keep that in mind. So how does this work, right? So I'm going to explain to you how it works from the command line application. All right, so the first step that I do in the command line application is to parse the XML data. And I do that using this library called TinyXML. Basically, I do what I was doing before, just reading that data. Once I have that data, I then use the file stream that C++ provides to write that data into binary format. And that is what I do here in step number 2. Again, the first thing that I write is the name of the model, then the vertices, then the normals, and what I'm doing, I'm following the same XML pattern here. So mesh has the name, vertices, normals, UVs, and I write all of that into a binary file. All right, then once I have that in a file, I load that file into the engine, and then the engine will read that file using the file stream that C++ provides. And again, I follow that same sequence now. I read the name using file.read, then I read the vertices and the normals and all of that. So what improves with all of this, right? What happened? Well, guess what? Now the loading speed for the 3D models is actually 0.1 second. That's a lot faster than it was with the XML format, which was 0.6 seconds. With binary, it's 0.1 second. However, you're going to see a bigger increase when you have a bigger scene in your game. And if you recall, it was taking about 14 seconds to load the whole scene. Now with the binary format, it's taking 5.2 seconds. You can see how fast that is, right? That's a huge improvement to basically load all of this game scene with 100,000 polys in only 5.2 seconds. All right, so I'm actually very happy that this is working. So I also did like more tests on different game scenes and different models, just to get a better picture of the results. And here are basically the loading speed for a 3D model of about 2,000 polys. With the XML format, it was taking 0.77 seconds. With a binary format, is now taking 0.12 seconds. And with a game scene of 111,000 polys, with the XML, it's taking basically 17 seconds, and with the binary, took 4.0 seconds. This is like several tests that I did and compiled and averaged the results. So it's looking a lot better, and I'm actually happy to now, use the changes in the game that I'm developing. So now you may be wondering, well, as a new game engine developer, what should you do? All right. If you are a new game engine developer and you are barely developing your engine, I recommend you to use the XML format and simply follow this flow of data from Blender to XML to your game engine. Why do I recommend you to use XML and not binary when you are starting off with your engine? It's because XML data, like an XML file, is human readable. You can see the data, you can understand what data you are providing to the engine. In contrast, binary data is not human readable. And if you are barely developing your engine, you are going to be doing a lot of debugging, a lot of it. So having a binary file data that you have to debug is not going to be easy. It's going to be, that's not going to help you at all. So if you are starting out your engine and you're beginning working on it, I recommend you to use the XML file for now. And once you have your engine up and running, once you know things are working, once you have a good handle on your engine, then change it to binary file format. Why? Well, number one, you know that your engine is now working. You know that the basic components that deal with loading the data into your GPU for all the rendering are already well built. They're well established. You know they work. So now making this change should not be too hard. So do that, okay? However, if your engine is already up and running and you are facing the same issues that I was facing with the speed, then yes, go ahead and port from XML to binary. That's the best thing that I can, recommend you to do. All right, so finally, I want to say that if you're developing your own game engine, please come and join our indie game engine developer Discord server. Is a great community that, if you have any questions regarding game engine development, just come in and ask, and we will try to help you. Let me give you a good example. All right. For example, I knew a while back that my game engine was taking too long to load, and I had no idea how to improve that. Luckily, members in the Discord channel, they guided me to where to look for, right? That I should change that to binary. Just having that community and being able to share, your frustration with your engine can really speed up your process. So I want to give thanks to Marco Giordano. He's also developing his own game engine using Vulkan. And here's his YouTube channel. You should follow him. This guy knows what he's talking about. So I want to thank him for guiding me to the right solution, and also to Dandy. He is also one of our members in our Discord channel, and he also proved a good point that I was having when I was implementing the whole binary file format in my game engine, that when you are debugging your engine, having the XML file format is a good idea because it's human readable, and you don't want to, and you cannot do that with a binary file format. And because of that, I decided, I do not want to completely remove the XML file format from the whole flow of data in my game engine. I still want to have it somewhere so people can actually, debug it. So like I was about to write the whole file stream in Blender directly, and bypassing the exporting of the XML file. But he brought a good point, so I decided to keep that for debugging purposes. So thank you guys, by the way. And if you're a new indie game engine developer, please join us. We have a great community of people that can help you out. So that's about it. Hey, so do not forget to subscribe to my channel, and also become a member in my Discord server. I'll see you guys next time.